that infamous photo of them on the Miami Heat where Dwayne Wade is like up in the air and LeBron James is just coming through, or whatever, vice versa. It's shot up. This man is cracked. This man is insane. He's going to be pulling on Android level performances in the map ahead, and especially on the Reyna or the Phoenix, depending on what he wants to pop in here for Haven. They've been playing a lot of Reyna in the UMG Open and Closed, whereas they usually on Haven have brought Shot Up as a Phoenix. So we'll see what they end up picking here. We don't get to see the agent selection until we're in the map, but Shot Up, man, is so crispy with those shots. We'll see how he boils them down here on this first map.
Immortals going to be starting on the attacking side. And it looks like they're already working their way up C long. You see Spyder on the Omen. He anchors down this spot on the defensive side on C very regularly. DaZeD with the shot dart already able to take care of Shot Up, but it's going to be traded out in kind with stronger aggression out of the side of Immortals, as it looks like T1 is just down to 2 members left. Brax and Skadoodle, they're going to be rotating over, show up a bit late to the party, but there's certainly a chance to retake this thing.
You know, we often talk about Haven being this map of who can hit C the hardest, and it's going to be, this time, who can take down Neptune with the hardest flank. Brax coming in through the courtyard, down to the 2v2, so doable here for T1. Immortals having an injured member here. See how, of course, now as the spike ticks down. Smoke here for Skadoodle just to get a little bit more ground and a little bit more space. Another smoke goes down. Shots will ring out. One player up on the logs. It's jcStani. One more shot will ring true. It's down to the 1v1. The frenzy. Oh my goodness. Brax mows it down and T1 win the first round.
Can you think of another Cypher player who frequently does stuff like that, right? Like pulls off these insane clutches. I just feel like, and maybe it's because I've been fortunate to cast T1 a number of times, but it's always Brax. Brax is just out of his mind.
Definitely is. We also have to identify that pistols can be volatile, but that still was very impressive from Brax. Get the 3K. He's really close to that neural theft. We'll see if there's some orb control coming out for T1. Looks like there is down the long side. Whereas Immortals looking for that courtyard control and just to try to get those feelers out early and see where T1 members are playing.
DaZeD going to get pushed back a bit as he takes some damage, but you see the intentions on the side of Immortals perfectly clear. They want Garage. They're going to brute force their way into it. DaZeD is going to get a chance to impede some of that push, and he does just that as he's able to take care of jmoh through the wall. Immortals looking to try to work their way through that and get some C presence. They are going to get onto the site, but what can Spyder do? They're hunting him down. He's not going to get a chance to do much of anything. Once again, Immortals have taken over C.
They can inch their way over and find an upgrade. You're seeing Shot Up's going to pick that one up. I'd imagine no better player on Immortals than Shot Up to pick that one up. So now they've got a little bit of a tighter defensive hold. They can't get over towards that long side, and they also don't have the range for it. So they're going to play close. They're going to play 50s, and they're really going to make T1 sweat for this one. So this is going to be a phenomenal round for Immortals to win, but that's going to be the hot hands that sends him out. The flames are good, but Shot Up will trade. That's Brax down. 2 very low members here for T1. And considering they forced up, are they going to save? This is such a tough spot to be in. They'll at least trade it out with Neptune back away. We also have to recall, the changes in patch 1.11 mean that defenders who save and don't defuse the spike have a reduction in 1,000 credits. And considering they lost this one, there's not really a whole lot of credits to go around. So they're only going to get 1,400, and they forced up. So tough spot to be in for T1, but a very solid eco round from Immortals.
Solid indeed. And again, it was through Garage, right? They were able to brute force their way into that, using a couple of shock darts, push members of T1 back. I believe it was DaZeD, if I'm not mistaken, who got forced off of that area. And then that just allowed Immortals to provide pressure from a couple of different spots. They absolutely overwhelmed Spyder back in C. They were able to get the spike down. This time, Immortals on the attacking side, leaning much heavier towards A. You see Skadoodle already peeking his way down long, and he's going to get spotted. They know exactly where he is, man. This is a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, if he tailwinds out, that's a heavy resource used. He wants to try to at least be a little bit impactful with it. The shock darts come through. They at least know something's gone. The orb will be taken. Once again, T1 with that standard setup. Spyder on the C site. DaZeD rotating between the B. the Link side, a little bit more of a heavier presence from AZK, and it's once again Immortals for the 3rd round in a row. Early presence towards the A side, but now it's just going to be a 5 stack down C-Long. We'll see if T1 are ready for it on the eco.
They're going to smoke up CT, and the dart was back there. The flash is going to come out of AZK, however, to try to impede things, and they're going to spot jmoh. He's taken out already as AZK continues to hold fast. T1 refusing to give up C. They tried. Immortals tried knocking in. They tried brute forcing their way in, and T1, at least for now, was able to keep them at bay.
Did Shot Up just find a pick through the smoke? It's very unfortunate for T1 because now it's going to be a very quick rotate over towards the A side. T1 are also reading this correctly with 2 members rotating over as fast as they can. There is utility set up on the side, cages down, etc., etc. But they will at least be smoked off for the time being. Oh, he hears one. He hears them. He hears them. DaZeD will spray one. It's traded down to the 3v3. Spike needs to go down. 14 seconds left on the clock.
Spike planted.
T1 with the numbers advantage, slight, but there nonetheless. See brax and Spyder trying to push their way forward, get some control. Spyder gets taken out. A Shot Up and Genghsta are both able to neutralize the defenses from T1. Just 1 member left. It's brax. He runs that clip dry. He has plenty of health. He has plenty of armor, and there's certainly an opportunity to do this. You see him tag up 1 member, drops down, is able to take care of Genghsta in hell. Brax in a 1v1. We talked about how insane he is in situations like this, and the man delivers again. A 3K from brax. They're going to defuse the round. T1 take a 1-round lead.
This man, brax needs a payday. He needs a raise. Look at this. The camera as well gave him so much information. He manages to survive the swing here from Shot Up. And then the rest is history. Very well played by brax. He's woken up today. He wants it to be a 2-0 and he wants to turn his stream on and make a quick buck. He is willing to end this now. Very, very solid heroics coming out from brax. And let's look ahead to this upcoming round. Another gun round for both sides. We'll see what the setup looks like for T1 and Immortals.
Skadoodle and DaZeD both 1 point away from getting their ultimates. You see once again a long pressure. So you saw the dart come out. They try to work their way in. And they are going to go ahead and back up. Meanwhile, on the attacking side for Immortals, they haven't committed to a site quite yet. The spike is still kind of hanging out. I love the utility that we're seeing here out of brax. You see a couple of tripwires defending different areas. A short and B door. They're the Hunter's Fury coming out from Genghsta. Not going to spot anybody. They've gotten used to exactly where Spyder normally plays. He's not there this time.
Yeah. And they try to use the Hunter's Fury, a huge ultimate committed to try to flush him out. In fact, it's incredible passive play towards the season. Well, not incredible, but it's heavy passive play. They're willing to play the retake consistently against Immortals. But the retake hasn't always worked out. It's like 50-50 at this point. brax winning the clutch, and then the following round, Immortals end up holding with a tighter defense and the post plant. But now, Immortals are just trying to figure out where are T1. That early Hunter's Fury towards the seaside, like, okay, I guess nobody's there, but they don't really have a lot of information to work off of.
Blind, a smoke coming out of jcStani, and once again, they funnel their way towards C. Here's the interesting thing about playing for a retake is well, I'll break this down later on. Let's wrap back to this thought. The spike has gone down. Immortals have assumed some post-plant positions. You see jcStani on the site. They've got a couple of players playing off. There's no Hunter's Fury to try to impede the defuse further down the road. But there's a chance here. Spyder's going to smoke off the entrance. You see the dart that's going to be coming out as well from DaZeD as you see Skadoodle go in. He's got the operator from up top, not able to land any shots quite yet. He's going to have to dip down as Immortals is just ripping T1 apart. Just down to 2 members left, and they're dropping as well. brax, with all the heroics that he's capable of, here with 32 health and a 1v5, certainly not something that's ideal. T1 tried playing the retake, right? They played off site, like you mentioned. They had nobody on C, and the firepower from Immortals was just too much.
Yeah, it's almost as if Immortals were like, what do we do? Where do we even go? And they're like, you know what? Okay, let's just go C, I guess. And it's in the post plant that they actually thrived. We saw a late paranoia from Spyder to help them push in. Skadoodle gets up on the box, but he can't find much success with it. I think he was in some sort of like reload animation or something, or a scope animation, because we saw jmoh swing from behind that box, and he could have found a pick there, but the rest of the team just fell apart in that smoke. So little bit of a tough round here for T1, and now once again, Immortals, they consistently try to play aggressive towards this long side. T1 are answering back in a unique way. They've got Sewer's presence. They hear that the Bladestorm's been called, the shock dart to the dome, but still the knives connect Skadoodle with one, and they back away as AZK trying to answer back. The flash does not work out. It's down to the 4v4 on T1's eco.
Feeling sight.
Smokes and Lear's utility being spent all over the place for really both squads. But as you see on the mini-map, jcStani again creeping his way over towards C. There's about to be an Omen on Omen, and Spyder wins that with the Sheriff. That refuses Immortals' opportunity and ability to rotate all the way over to C. Furthermore, Spyder gets information. They know exactly where they are.
Yeah, this eco is working out beautifully. The fact that they've read that Immortals have had heavy presence towards that A long side, round after round after round, but then it doesn't mean that they always end up there. Oh, jmoh, so unfortunate. And the upgrade here from brax, or rather, not an upgrade, he carried that from the round prior, and now it's just DaZeD trying to figure out where is this last player lurking around down banana. It's Genghsta, who's all on his lonesome. A very solid round
30
here
seconds
for T1,
left.
considering the economy was in a little bit of a tougher spot. The heroics from Skadoodle early on. He finds 2 picks. One he found early, then he came back for more. Genghsta in a 1v3. Does he have what it takes here? Smoke down towards the long side, but he's rotated all the way around. There's a camera above him.
Revealing area.
10 seconds left.
See if it spots him out. That's going to be the recon bolt. It spots out no one, but that's going to be one that spots out late. Genghsta down to the 1v2. Time is ticking. 1 second left. Ring around the rosy. The shocks are good for DaZeD. It almost falls apart there for T1, but they eventually find the win.
And again, it was an instance in which he was able to isolate those gunfights, bring things down to a 1v1, and put him in a position where he has a high degree of possibility of winning those fights. And that's exactly what he does. If he gets swung on by 2 people at once, he's certainly done for. And things didn't look good, right? As you mentioned, he walked right under a camera that wasn't on at the time. It wasn't being looked at by brax, but he walked right under it. He swung out, and again, was just able to get those 1v1s. This time, this round, Immortals not doing anything aggressive, not doing anything spicy. A little bit of info, as you see, but it's actually DaZeD who punishes first.
We also have to talk a little bit about the economy temporarily. It's been both these teams have won, then won, then won, then won, then won. The loss bonus has been reset every single round. Very tough spot. The economy will eventually break. Running back here from AZK, but an early pick here for Skadoodle. Takes out shot up in the courtyard, and that's got to hurt. Spyder will hold that same corner, finds jcStani. And this is slowly falling apart for Immortals. So as I say, the economy's got to break eventually. It looks like it'll be this round. Oh no, jmoh. I like the attempt to try to hide behind the box, but now they at least know that there's presence towards the courtyard side, and Skadoodle's ready with the angle.
It's interesting to see them use that run it back in a 5v3. Just really showing their desire to not leave this round a chance and to take care of business. It's also got to be super infuriating if you're Immortals, because of Spyder, right? You know that he's been playing down that back C corner. All right, he's punished us a couple of times. Fine, this time let's go ahead and use the Hunter's Fury and let's push him out. He's not there, so you think, okay, we should have a little bit more room to work with. And sure enough, they mosey their way on up, and guess who's waiting for them? It's Spyder again. So they haven't been able to read exactly where Spyder's been, and that's just been causing fits for them.
And literally on this round up and coming, Spyder's located on top of the box this time around with still the same support from DaZeD. Immortals going to have a lighter presence towards the A-long side to keep up that conditioning. But the fact that Spyder set up a smoke, he's going to be able to really easily see over it. But taken down by jcStani. Nice. That's a great opening pick here for Immortals. How much more can they find?
I love a little flash and dash. Reyna, Lear goes in, and then the dash follows, but DaZeD and brax are able to keep Immortals back, at least for now. Here, the neural theft has been used, gives away all of the info that Immortals might have been trying to keep behind closed doors. Furthermore, the spike is down. We're on the site. There's really no way for them to get on there. A 4K from DaZeD as Immortals gets ripped apart. T1 with the 3-round lead.
Yeah, that almost looked a little scary because Spyder was just trying to be a little bit more unique, you know, trying to switch things up, spice things up on the C side. You know, I'm always playing behind plat. Let's play on the box. I think after that round, he may want to stick back to that plat location. That's exactly where he's thinking about going. But a very solid execute there from Immortals. T1 just held it, and they had the better weaponry as well to boot. But now this is a round for Immortals to really answer back for that round. Once again, the heavy presence towards the A side. Skadoodle is going to have a very aggressive peek with the op. This is going to be very quick and very fast.
Oh, Skadoodle had a chance, but he's going to get tagged up and pushed back. I like the support that they had down A long as well. You know, oftentimes you can see from an area of strength, there's a weaker side in those instances, and there was actually strong presence from both of those lanes there across A. No real way for Immortals to bust a move, but again, jmoh, it looks like we're going to be playing something towards C.
I like the attempt there from T1 to play Where's Waldo. Spyder up on the box and still get taken down by Neptune, and another one will come easy. It's down to the 3v5. As Spike still needs to go down, it's going to be slowly starting to make its way over, but T1 in a little bit of a tougher spot. They wanted to play retake on this site, but unfortunately it did not really work out the way that they had intended. So now they're setting up brax for the long lurk around. There's a player in the garage side, so brax is going to have to deal with that player as the rest of T1 are working their way up through Link. But it's still tough. The smokes, just smoke after smoke after smoke, utility after utility. They can't really break their way in. Wall will go up, give them at least a safe passage temporarily, but jcStani just swings. He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. That's going to be two that come easy, and now brax going to try to play exits. We'll see if any come down the long side. It'll be two, while the rest will lurk through the defender spawn. A very solid hold here from Immortals.
Very solid hold indeed. And here's the thing. So T1 have shown us that they like playing off of the retake. They're willing to give up some space in order to play for that later on in the round. And it was actually shout out to DDK and the boys over at Immortal Minds, which you should 1000% check out their content if you aren't already. But they were breaking some of this down, and it's actually a really good point. So if you're playing for retakes, the attacking side, in order to get onto that site, are going to invest a lot of their utility. Their smokes, their blinds, their leers, their what have you. They're going to get onto the site. They're going to invest all of that utility just to get on there. And then from the defending side, if you're playing for the retakes, you should, in theory, have that advantage. You should have more utility than them in order to take that site back. So on paper, that should be an area of strength for T1 Skadoodle. Absolutely out of control. But it hasn't always worked out that way here.
That was a super important pick because the C side has been bullied by Immortals round after round, despite the round lead here for T1. So now they're going to be hitting the A site. There's membership here on the site. There's 3 members here. So the teleport up in towards heaven to at least see who's up there, and Neptune's going to walk in. There's still a cyber cage that is stopping the push forward, and that's going to be a great flash. But Genghsta through the flash finds 2. DaZeD with the cross. There's still 2 more members remaining for Immortals, but they brought it down to a 2v2. Skadoodle with the up will fall, and it's all down to Spyder in the 1v2.
Planted.
Yeah, the rotate just took a little too long. He's got plenty of health. He's got plenty of utility, so there's certainly... Oh my gosh. The trigger discipline was there initially. He's able to take care of Genghsta, isolate things down to a 1v1. The problem is the clock is not his friend. jcStani, however, as you can see, his health bar is very low. He doesn't have a ton to work with, but Spyder's still looking for him. He has no idea he's not going to get a chance. He's going to get shot on the side, and jcStani holds fast. The 3K on the round with 11 health. Bring the gap down to 1.
I was going to say that was very doable for Spyder there. Of course, jcStani was injured, but unfortunately, Spyder just had too many nooks and crannies to check where the mouse was located. But right under his nose, there was the cheese, and there was jcStani. Finds a great positioning round for Immortals. 3 rounds remain in this half. Could be a very even one, as we're currently at 5-4, 7-5 a possibility, 6-6 a possibility, and so is 8-4 for T1. But unfortunately, the economy not looking too great. Skadoodle back with the op. I don't know how much utility he has, but definitely has no armor. And we'll see now how Immortals once again look aggressively down this A side, either the sewers or the long side. But considering T1 haven't really showed so much presence towards that orb, that's why Immortals are adapting a little bit differently here and looking towards that sewer side instead.
We just saw Neptune creep his way up A long and get a tripwire of his own down, so they'll have a good idea if anyone is going to be flanking around. Meanwhile, the patience that T1 has shown up A short has been really impressive. jmoh was waiting for the aggression there with the operator, but they haven't committed. Immortals starting to creep their way forward. Shot up has utility, but the flash comes out. Neptune is still able to take care of him, but brax trades it out with the frenzy, not able to get the second one. The shot up shoots him down. They're going to be able to get onto the A site. Immortals with the numbers advantage.
They tried that in the last round too. You saw AZK playing a little bit further up in that corner, in that cubby up above sewers, rather than the aggression that they had in that 50-50 opening. So Immortals just really able to brute force their way through it with their own utility. And you would think that T1 would be able to get the trades there or trade efficiently, but it does not pan out the way that they had wanted to. So we saw initially Immortals have heavier presence towards the C site time and time again. And so now these A site defenses for T1, they just haven't been able to hold Immortals back. And the retakes haven't been working out well either. It's usually the rounds won here by T1 in these crazy clutch scenarios. This is not one of them. So Immortals gonna knot us up 5-5. And we'll just have to see how the next round looks. Spyder's gonna find one. Can he find a second? Yes, he can. Give it to him. That's at least gonna nullify some of that pain for losing the round. And we'll see how the setup looks for T1 and Immortals in the round to come.
I think the important thing to keep in mind, as you just saw before the round was over, it's that Skadoodle is going to be able to bring the operator into the next round. He's also going to be able to buy up a little bit of armor to keep things interesting, to match jmohs. We'll keep a close eye on where both of those operators go. We've seen instances in which Skadoodle wants to play a short, in which he wants to play B and look right at window. So we'll keep a close eye on where that is. It looks like he's already posturing towards a short. And guess what, folks? jmoh is as well. We may have something real spicy here at the beginning of this round. Oh, here it comes.
This presence is so important for T1 because if they lose this challenge, if they lose this battle to Immortals, they're going to consistently lose the rounds. Of course, there's not many left. Genghsta's gonna find Spyder. That's just so unfortunate. But DaZeD is holding down the line, down the long side. He's gonna find two through the smoke. Back away in kind. Shock darts come through. He's gonna get eventually taken down. But a 3v3 doable here for T1.
Yeah, Skadoodle's still going to have that operator. You see jmoh's beginning to plant the spike as that's going to go down. It's going to be a straight up 3v3, no other ultimates to talk about or keep in mind. One thing to keep in mind, however, is for brax. He is on the lurk. He is on the rotate. There is a tripwire in the way. So before he commits to that, it's where they're going to have to go. Oftentimes, you see attacking teams, after planning on C, they play down C long. Right? And that's why he's being a bit apprehensive about going that way, but that's not the case this time. T1 starting to work their way into the defending Son. AZK and Skadoodle both get dropped. It's just up to brax. He is not going to get spotted, but he's just going to run away. Save the weapon. Maybe play for exits if you get a chance, but there are just not a ton of options for him here.
Yeah, tough round. Round after round after round. Retakes just not working out well for T1. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't really know what's wrong, you know? You would think that they're just entering the site standard, you know, using their utility to make their way in ever so slightly. Smokes go down so they can get more space, have closer gunfights. But the past 4 rounds have just been very difficult for T1 in the retake. And it's nothing too crazy in the early rounds. Some of these early rounds have kind of gone sour for T1. But it's in the post-plant that T1 are really struggling here. So Immortals finally find themselves in a lead position, can finish this half 7-5. Once again, Immortals, a little bit of presence towards that long side. Heavier presence from T1 for the first time through the courtyard. Let's see what they can find with it.
Folks, this is very rare to see T1 show such signs of aggression. You heard the Hunter's Fury and the run it back, this time out of AZK, who was able to go in and get a kill. Meanwhile, Immortals once again making their way up C-Long. You see the paranoia comes out, jmoh goes up, somehow stays alive, and he still has the blade storm, able to take one with him, but Spyder drops him from the skies. brax gets in on the action as well. T1 numbers advantage.
See, if they never force a retake, it's kind of like one of those philosophical Socrates questions, you know? If T1 are never in the retake, does T1 ever lose? They didn't even let them get that spike down. They're like, yeah, we're just going to fight for the C-side hit. We don't care. And they were also able to get a lot of information from AZK's running back early round as well to say, okay, there's at least a lot of presence. They could go anywhere, but there's at least a lot of leaning presence towards that C-side. So now we're going to be swapping halves. We'll see what conditioning both teams have prepared for this half. But considering we're at 6-6, it's really anybody's game still at this point. As we highlighted in the pregame, still a very close series, and it will continue to be, especially after this map.
T1 on the attacking side,
show you how the
they're
boss does it.
very well known for their, as I mentioned prior to the map, methodical, slower play on the attacking side. And I know it's only been
Deploying drones.
7 seconds on this half for them, but we're seeing a lot of that, right? They're just very cautious. You see him use a good bit of utility to try to create some room to get information. The Cypher cam across the front of B, the drone up into A. It was an early use of the drone, but it was still there. But now T1 trying to work their way up C. The paranoia is going to come out from jcStani, and he's able to get the kill. And Genghsta does as well. As Spyder drops, jcStani is still anchoring down from the back of C. Members of Immortals starting to rotate over from the defending spawn, but jcStani is left unchecked yet again.
Yeah, Spyder's a little envious right now. The fact that jcStani's been able to play behind flat so well for this first round means DaZeD has to back away. Tough round for T1 to lose, but there's still many more rounds remaining. This is only round 13, the beginning of the half, but Immortals with a solid hold. And this is a very impressive hold because we saw this exact C site. T1 just let it play very passively. Spyder tried to hold down, at least be the only anchor there, but he couldn't really hold down for much.
30
but
seconds
now,
left.
We'll see if this becomes a continuing trend for Immortals, if they hold down the C site well. There was a gentleman's handshake over towards the sewer side early. Two players, you know, kind of peek through, say hello, and then back away towards the C site. But DaZeD at least try something. You can appreciate that. With jcStani on the 4K, he's got a lot of ult points that he can use in probably upcoming rounds.
And he's put together a very impressive map so far too. 14 and 8, having himself a field day. Immortals winning that pistol round, obviously very important because of the unpredictable nature. It's probably the best way to put that. Around pistol rounds and what it means for the following. No force up from T1 on this side. You've got a Frenzy, they've got a Ghost, but they're not going to be forcing up into Stingers or Spectres. And it looks like they're going to creep their way up into Garage. Nobody's going to be home, but they're going to clear that out, get some info, and create some space. But jcStani is already taking care of DaZeD.
Yeah, he does get tagged, so at least no one player's there. There's a Cyber cage here, which means that there's more, but Neptune comes through. It's an upgrade for Skadoodle as the Spectre comes into his hands, but as quickly as I start is as quickly as it's going to finish. Immortals now up by 2. I like the look from T1. Let's switch things up. I still want to hit the C site, but let's at least split through the Garage to start. But once again, Immortals just hold down that C site effectively. This is the round that we've been waiting for. See how T1 set up their aggression, their offensive half looks. This time, it's going to be towards that A site. So we'll see how are jmoh and Genghsta able to stop this eventual push, or at least this early peak here from T1.
No operators to talk about. Utility spread across the board, really all over the place from Neptune. But T1 looking like they want to get some info, create some chaos up A long, but oh my gosh, Shot Up has creeped his way all the way up A. Short DaZeD is going to be the first one there, not able to take care of him. Shot Up goes in, gets the kill, and gets out.
Yeah, you cannot be letting that guy do things like that. Surely that doesn't happen more rounds in a row. They're going to be checking those corners and checking that sewer side, or at least have an angle. At least have a point person looking through so you don't get swindled like Shot Up just did there. And now he's playing close with the Spectre once again. A very cheeky angle. We'll see if Skadoodle's able to at least see his shoulder. If he checks wide enough, you'll be able to see him. Now as they start to leave, that's another Spectre swing here from Shot Up, but AZK's ready for it. The Vandal, much mightier in the weapon in Shot Up's hands. And so now that'll at least be traded out. And it's going to be a mid-round B-side hit, which we haven't seen from Immortals. So let's see if they're prepared for it.
Well, and we really didn't see it from T1 either. You see both smokes have been used. As he tellies in, he's going to get the spike down. And then he pops. Oh, no. Okay, jcStani got taken out. T1 is able to hold things off so far. Immortals now starting to rotate back onto the site. You see a couple of smokes through to kind of try to keep things at bay, to delay. There's not a ton of heavy presence early on, but you see Immortals has tapped. And yeah, it's a chaos play. We see this set piece from a couple of different teams on the attacking side. They jump in, they get the spike down, and then it's just madness. But Genghsta has started to get the defuse. The blind is going to come out. He can't see a dang thing. Brax is able to take care of him, but Genghsta's going to stick it anyway. There's nobody there to stop him. But Spyder not there in time. Genghsta's able to get the defuse. What a play.
Just because you're spraying the smoke doesn't mean you're landing shots, right? You can ping all you want. you can hope that someone's there on the opposite side, but pros have gotten better and better and better at just narrowly avoiding. You know, Keanu Reeves diffusing the spike, and somehow at the same time, he's also bending over backwards doing so. So Genghsta definitely putting on a Matrix-worthy performance. He took the blue pill, not the red pill. A very solid round for Immortals. It puts them in a great position, but T1 still have weaponry moving into this one. So Immortals still have to knock them down another peg, and that's how you start it. You take out Skadoodle and you open up the round, especially with aggression down that long side.
Here.
See, there's some presence again up C long. Heavy footprint from Immortals over by A. They have 3 members over there. Now one of them is starting to rotate over. Genghsta is back through spawn. But this is the T1 right here. What we're seeing is what people have grown to expect, right? Again, just checking every single thing before they commit onto something. They're still hanging out over by C, but the longer things go, Immortals invest more presence there, more personnel in order to keep things at bay.
Passive play from Immortals towards that A site. They found that early pick and don't need to kind of force the issue. Shots may be heard towards that B site. We still have a anchor there from Neptune, but they're slowly starting to pull away. But as the smoke comes in, it's quite telling that this execute is about to come through. The paranoia as well is going to give them all the information that they need now as they start to kind of funnel through. We're hoping T1 can finally break through this Immortals barrier. So far, no one has fallen. jcStani with at least one. Genghsta and Neptune hold down the line as T1 cannot break through once again. This C site has been impossible for T1 to hit. I know we're not supposed to give advice as casters, but I think the B site has been working out a little bit better for T1. Yeah, we only saw it once, but if you can once again set up a position to just keep an eye and try to put yourself in a position to hit that B site and find a little bit more success, at least getting the spike down and playing the post plant, because the C site's just been difficult. It's been tough.
It has been, and you saw, I mean, out of Spyder, the way that they tried getting onto that site was just, I mean, they're doing what they can, but it's just not working this time. Again, out of T1, the spike not in tow in anyone's hand. You saw a good bit of utility used up A long, some presence there as well, but nothing doing quite yet. Meanwhile, for Immortals, we haven't seen much of an aggressive look defensively out of them either. Nobody has been flying down A long with a little flash and dash or anything like that. They've been pretty patient in their defensive play as well.
T1, they're so afraid of this long side. It's like, let's clear every angle. Owl drone, let's send it in. Okay, who's here? Nobody's home. We'll see how far it does end up making it. Okay, it'll at least spot out Neptune as jcStani is playing the off angle there. Now jmoh will at least spot out a hurry and flurry of T1 members running down that long side. jmoh trying to reposition to a different angle, gets flashed away, so he's got a tailwind to safety. So they have control of the site here for T1, but jcStani is still backside. How many members can he take down so far? It's none. Shot's gonna be good onto the first. Hunter's Fury comes through. Paranoia to hold the line. Shots will ring, but he can't find any. They will hold them back, and the spike is still not down. Shot up with one, Genghsta with another, Neptune with the third. It's all down to Skadoodle. Shot will ring true, but the round will not. Immortals up by 5. Once again, a solid hold on that C site.
Really a stalwart defense. They can't get in. And this time they showed something a little different. You saw DaZeD work his way around to try to get onto a flank, to try to create some chaos back behind C, but he got picked out early on as well. That was a huge kill for Immortals. T1 not able to get anything going on that C site. You mentioned earlier, prior to that round, that, you know, it hasn't really been working. That was another heavy investment to try to make it happen, and it just has not panned out. 5 rounds in a row for Immortals. Folks, it looks like we're in a bit of a pause. We'll get some info and we'll get you back into the action as soon as we possibly can. But for now, it's just, Simo, what else do they do? I mean, C is obviously not working.
It's obviously a tactical pause. T1's coach, Fraud, probably saying, all right, got to whip up into shape here. Some of the A side hits have been a little bit more successful. C site, as we've already seen round after round, has not been working. jcStani really holding down that plat position with support from Genghsta and support from Neptune. Great angles on the site. Now T1 thinking, how do we come back here? Immortals, they're just 2 away from taking map 1, and then it's going to be a walk in the park on Ascent. At least they'll walk over to Ascent. I don't think it'll be that easy against T1, since it's the map they're most comfortable with. For Immortals, it's been very impressive to see how their playstyle has developed over the Nerd Street Gamers Open Qualifier, where they were eliminated by XSET. They came back swinging. The UMG, just a quick run through, beating Dignitas to qualify into the closed. And now we're here. They're up against T1. You win this one, you move on, and you got to win one more best of 3 to make it to the big event in December. So if they win this one, all they got to do is win one more, and they've proven their worth as NA's mightiest.
Certainly not an easy thing, much easier said than done. As we've been watching through, we confirmed from production that it is indeed a tactical, or excuse me, a technical pause. But you saw, I was watching the minimap while it was happening, or while you were chatting, jmoh, and you saw a couple of pings from the attacking side from T1, and they're considering everything. You saw a couple of pings on C, about different places to kind of set up the piece. You saw them on B, and then you even saw them lastly down A long as well. So the thing is, it's been a whole lot of lack of success for T1 here. 5 rounds in a row, and it, as you said, has been heavy towards C. We only saw a little bit of spice towards B, but by and large, I mean, it was closer, but it didn't work out either. So you just kind of wonder, the early presence from Immortals down A long has kind of kept that off the board a bit as well. And then you saw Shot Up at one point actually establish himself pretty hard towards A short, and that caused to be problematic for T1 as well. It just doesn't look like there have been very many options, very many places to go. They haven't found a weakness in the defense from Immortals quite yet.
Well, you also have to identify that the A site shenanigans, the sewers and long control, has kind of been a gentleman's handshake for both halves, right? Except T1 were trying to play a little bit more aggressively on their defensive half, with having players like AZK, Skadoodle, and brax play towards the 50s and play towards the different angles, and Skadoodle even himself with the operator trying to peek and see where are those members in the garden, or as some call it, A lobby. But it wasn't quite easy. It wasn't quite easy. And so now it's the flip side. Immortals have opted in time and time again to play either aggressively or passively towards that long and sewer side. It hasn't always been a gentleman's handshake. So T1 are a little bit confused. They're like, well, you're right. How do we reach that A side if C side has been so secure by players like jcStani, Genghsta, and Neptune? So it's a difficult question here for T1. I think we are all, like you said, pointing out, this is a technical pause, so I don't think there is anything tactical about the shut up, just having to reconnect. It would be an absolute shame if he cannot reconnect. This would be a very difficult 4v5 to close out for Immortals, but it's tough, Doug. It's tough if you're a T1 fan right now, because Immortals, they're sitting pretty.
They are indeed. Folks, we're still waiting for updates. We'll, again, get that to you all as soon as we possibly can. Here's the thing, too. As we take a look at Haven for both of these for both of these teams, excuse me, Immortals are really good on it, right? Yeah. Especially their defensive side. They have a higher win rate on it for both the NSG Open and the UMG Open events, and now they're obviously here in the UMG closed qualifier, but they have shown proficiency on this map, and it's not by much more, but Immortals do have more reps, more live reps on Haven than T1 do. The one benefit here for T1 as they try to figure out what their options are and how they can make something happen here is that historically their attacking side has been better across both qualifier tournaments. That doesn't mean it's worked so far here against Immortals, but there's history suggests that they should be able to get something going here. The problem is, jmoh, they're running out of time. For them to find themselves down 6-11 at this point, having already lost 5 rounds in a row, their economy, as you can see, doesn't look stellar. It doesn't look spectacular. AZK is not even going to be able to buy full armor. Again, just a testament to the fact that time is running out for this map. If there's a trick in the bag, if there's something that they haven't shown yet, they're going to have to bust this thing out soon.
Does look like Shot Up is, I'm at least seeing ping. So, well, there goes the ping. I thought he had reconnected here. It's very possible that Immortals just sweep this half. So let's get a lay of the land in terms of what they can do currently and what T1 can, of course, do to stop the sweep. Not a huge potential for Immortals to have a lot of ultimates available here. Not that I think it's ever been super pivotal. The ultimate usage from Immortals hasn't been the make or break reason as to why they've been able to hold these sites so well. There has been players like jcStani holding down that C site, which has netted them so many of these rounds in a row. But looking on the flip side, T1, brax 1 away from the Neural Theft, DaZeD 2 away from the Hunter's Fury, Spyder 1 away from the Shadows, which means they have the ability, if they want to fight for some sort of orb control down C long, they can at least get brax or Spyder some sort of information ultimate and maybe try to use that to their advantage to put themselves at 11-7. They'll need a couple more rounds in a row to really thwart that economy for Immortals. But at least they've got something to work with, right? It's not completely down and out. And I'd imagine they may be looking for that C-long orb control because, I'm going to be honest, like, it favors the attack more and the A-site orb, it favors the defense more. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see what their plan is, because Immortals have done so well, even not only just defending the C site, but looking down long and finding opening picks to really say, okay, T1, yeah, don't come here. Don't come anywhere near the C site. So even though the orb is available and they can find something to use this round, this upcoming round, it's still going to be a challenge.
It's going to be it's certainly, I think one of the other things that we think about here as we begin to look past this map, right? If Immortals is able to put this map away and take a 1-round lead, or 1-map lead, excuse me, over T1, let's take a look at what's coming up next. That's Ascent. T1, really freaking good on Ascent. 5-0 in the Nerd Street Gamers Open Qualifier, a 2-1 in the closed qualifier, and then they already have a 1-0 record here in the UMG closed qualifier. Immortals does not have the same successful track record on this map. So yes, Haven is certainly not going their way, but fortunately for T1, for fans of T1, it's not like you're walking into a second map that you're horrible at, and there's no chance statistically for you to win it. They certainly have the edge there. And then that would obviously bring us to Bind in map 3, and then we'll see how the cookie crumbles in that regard. But again, for T1, while this hasn't gone well, not all is lost.
I do want to take a quick moment to identify some of the matches that have occurred off stream. I know you're all here for T1 Immortals, but just to give you some updates, Luminosity earlier qualified, taking down Space Station 2-0. So now SSG and Cloud9 will have to play later today. A very interesting qualifying match. Cloud9 could be knocked out again by Space Station. FaZe Clan having to face off against NRG because NRG was able to 2-0 N-Box. Ascent was 13-5.
Are going to get you into the game to kind of set the scene yet again and talk about what's going to be going down. Again, as you can see on the scoreboard there, Shot Up has not reconnected. He will not be finishing out the map. That's going to put Immortals at a numbers disadvantage, a 4v5. You talked about jcStani as the person on Immortals to really be the X factor here in the closing rounds. The person I'm going to keep an eye on the side of T1 is brax. Brax has been heroic time and time again, but it's been a bit of a lackluster half so far for really all of Immortals. What can brax do to get this team back into things?
Early clear here from DaZeD is going to find jcStani at least towards that link side. A couple of shots to spray through, and once again, as we had highlighted, the B site was the closest thing to work out. jcStani already down for the count, and it's a 3v5. as they'll back away here for T1. Skadoodle back site. Immortals going to wrap around from both link sides. Hedwig used to clear out the site, at least temporarily. Skadoodle, there's... He's going to be shot through, 46 HP. Neptune will still push forward, but they don't anticipate him being there. jmoh uses that operator like a shotgun. Here comes the defuse. They're going to smoke down and make this place cloudy. But once again, he's defusing. Once again, Immortal, he's taken down by the hot hands. Oh my goodness. It's all down to one final player. But unfortunately, it's Shot Up who's back in spawn. That was so close for Immortals. They almost defused that. So unfortunate. And now it's, of course, AZK that gets that ult point onto Shot Up. One of the questions I had, Doug, moving into this one is when you have a DC in ranked, you get some sort of perks, right? You get an ult orb, you get some other things. I don't think that's going to be the case this time around.
Yeah, we've never really had something like this, so we'll try to figure out if that's if that is how that plays out here in a custom setting. But that in mind, as we mentioned, T1 were able to find some success in that last round, and it was right up the belly of the defenses of Immortals. It was right into B. They were able to get in, get what they wanted, and as close as it still was, they were able to walk away victorious. Here on the attacking side, yet again, they're starting to show some more presence that way, but jmoh with the operator looking right outside garage door. If he gets a chance, he's got an opportunity for something spicy here, but he's going to get spotted up. He's going to have to back up, and that possibility of making something happen through garage door is gone.
Oh, but jcStani, he pushes through the courtyard, and now it's an even 4v4. They're going to be making their way up towards that long side and the sewer side. Neptune's going to be the anchor here. How long can he hold this on, or will they play the retake? It seems like the latter here, as T1 are going to walk onto the site relatively free. But, you know, for a map like Haven, 4v5, you've got too many bases to cover. You're ultimately going to be playing retake every single round. And that's exactly what's going to happen here with the remaining time.
Great map awareness, great game presence from jcStani on that swing early on, knowing that T1 would be playing a bit more aggressively there, but as you mentioned, either way, this has gone down. Immortals is just able to pick T1 apart.
Wow!
Ladies and gentlemen, they rob one away from T1. It looks like they're going to get the defuse as well, and they... Oh, no. Oh, okay. Whew. They startled me for a minute. It looks like they're going to get to match point.
The pack survives.
Great communication from Immortals there. A huge paranoia allows Genghsta hop out through heaven, finds Skadoodle and Brax, and that ultimately allowed the rest of Immortals to push in through yellow. Very well done in the retake there. So now all they need is one. 5 rounds remain before we end up in some sort of overtime scenario. 4 ultimates on the docket here for T1, and Genghsta going to be looking down long, while T1 are going to have a little bit of presence towards that side. And the rest of T1 are going to split off towards that long side. jmoh with the operator here. He's going to take away the owl drone first, back up as he gets tagged. And the Hunter's Fury puts him in a little bit of a tougher spot, so he's got to avoid that. He does so successfully. Nobody gets tagged, or at least a tag does not turn into a frag. And they find a pick despite the Hunter's Fury. Now it's a 4v4. T1 have to hit this A side and make it work.
All right, they've got an opportunity here. You see Skadoodle dash in, and it looks like he's going to get the spike down. As you mentioned, they're just going to be playing for retakes. They don't really have a choice otherwise. The Blade Storm is available on the side of Immortals, of jmoh, and he has the operator to work with as well. There you see that Blade Storm used. The drone was in as the tip of the spear, and they follow, but jmoh has been severely tagged up at the hands of Spyder. The Spectre proving to be too much, and Skadoodle with the blades adds insult to injury. However, DaZeD keep things at bay. It's just bodies are dropping left and right, and T1 is able to fend off Immortals. And ladies and gentlemen, this map will continue.
A little bit of a tougher retake there for Immortals. They tried to run that same paranoia play, but T1 were ready for it. A little bit more spread out in the post plant there. And of course, Skadoodle had some knives of his own in that retake scenario for Immortals as they try to push back in. Skadoodle was ready for it, right? And Spyder as well, just spraying through. He's just like, all I got to do is hold left click and hope I find somebody. There was maybe like 5 smokes in that small little area there. So now, once again, T1 4 away from tying us up. Aggressive look here from jmoh. See if he finds someone towards that sewer side. That's the camera that comes out. He does get tagged, so he's got to get away from that location soon. He's actually been stopped with the op round after round. T1 have done a great job of shutting him down.
AZK going a bit aggressively here with the runner back. He's able to take care of jmoh and remove the operator from the conversation. It's going to run out, but he got plenty of info. Spyder starting to plant the spike on B, but jcStani with the flank able to get one.
Smoke has subsided. Genghsta once again with a neural theft. Will only spot him out temporarily. There is one player down towards that right side. He doesn't get tagged, so Spyder actually able to just hold on there. It's all down to Genghsta. The paranoia comes through. He is getting sprayed off the angle. And there is a flank starting to develop from Skadoodle, but they don't need it. AZK with the 3K. Now we've got 3 rounds remaining for T1 to tie this one up. Immortals, they've gotten very close to closing this one out. All they need is 1 in a tough position to do so. If they lose this map, it's going to be a very difficult ascent map coming up ahead for them. So T1 don't want to let Immortals, of course, take this one down, but this is an eco for Immortals. Another tough spot to be in. Likely we'll see a 10-12 after this one.
Likely the case, folks. If you are just tuning in and you're a bit confused as to what you just saw at the end of that round, Shot Up was not able to finish out the map due to some unforeseen circumstances. Immortals is playing in a 4v5 to close this thing out. Immortals is at match point, so they have an opportunity here to make something happen, even given the deficit that they're staring down. But T1 has been able to respond and has been able to put up the last couple of rounds. Immortals here, as Simo mentioned, is going to be a bit worse for wear as far as artillery goes, but it doesn't seem to matter as Neptune's able to take care of AZK early on.
2v4. Team is spread incredibly thin as brax gaining a lot of room towards this A side. He's going to find Genghsta positioned in a cheeky little corner with the judge, take him down. It's all up to Neptune now, who's lurking up through the window. They know exactly where he is. He's only got a stinger. The jumping classic from Skadoodle is going to take him down. So in a position like this for Immortals,
No one to interrogate.
it's difficult. Got 4 players, 3 sites to defend, which means, you know, 2 of the sites are going to be a little bit weaker in terms, and a little bit easier for T1 to hit. You know, prior to the 5v5 that we had, Immortals were able to stack accordingly, read the map, have more bodies to trade, and now Immortals do not have that luxury. But it's a gun round. Ultimates across the board, except for jmoh, but he's got the op, so it doesn't quite matter. He's going to be holding down this A side alone. They do have AZK and brax preparing for the gentleman's agreement, pushing through, seeing who's on the opposite side. We'll see what success he can find with this early on.
Oh, the flash, he manages to sidestep it, isn't able to land the shot, but dashes away to safety. Here, the Hunter Fury has been used as Skadoodle has an op of his own. And nothing doing quite yet. It was interesting to see jmoh play that as aggressively as he was. Down A long by himself. But as you guys saw, managed to get away scot-free. T1 now considering mulling over the opportunity of going up B again, and you see a couple of smokes from Immortals already coming out, but you see the pings, that's where they want to go.
They don't have a lot of information from Immortals towards that C site. There was some early back and forth. I think the Hunter's Fury was used to try to take down Genghsta, but he does technically avoid that. Here comes AZK. This run it back is unfortunately gone. They're still going to try to force the issue. jcStani with 1, but now they'll push in. Neptune with another. Neptune with 2. Down to the 2v2. jmoh and Genghsta. Still, Spike needs to go down, and unfortunately, it's in a tough spot. The smoke will help brax recover it, but it's all down to jmoh. The flank from Genghsta does not pan out. He's got an op in hand, 30 seconds, and the Spike is going to move over towards the C site. And it's up to jmoh to clutch this one out.
With 15 seconds left in the round, you see T1 is going to get the Spike down on C. jmoh is really just kind of guessing at this point. As soon as the Spike goes down, he's going to have a decision to make on whether or not he just saves the operator, brings it into the next round. or tries to go for something spicy here. You see T1 have already started to assume their post-plant positions, and they're very passive, very safe, conservative is probably the best word to use there. Post-plant positions, but jmoh, oh baby, jmoh's not going down without a fight. Swaps out the operator for a Phantom and looks to take the situation to T1. He's able to get one, he's able to take care of brax, drop things down to a 1v1, but he's gonna have to bust a move. He gets the second one. Holy Toledo, jmoh!
Oh my goodness. That was around for T1 to really shut them out, take us to 11-12, likely thwart the economy for Immortals once again and take us to overtime, but Immortals in the 4v5. It was difficult. T1 really started to pick up some steam, but they will take map number 1. Wow, what a comeback here for Immortals and company. Down a member, 4v5, still clutch the map through. Now give them some time, as well as T1 some time to move on to that second map. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, it'll be a set. Will they come back, or will Immortals close this one out 2-0? You'll find out after the break.